Welcome, everyone, to episode 114 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Penteloresco. I write stuff and podcast too. And today, my guest is author, flamenco dancer, one-of-a-kind Renaissance woman, Susan MacGregor. And we're going to be talking, and we have a really cool conversation about a variety of things, writing, storytelling, and entertainment, and a zillion other things as well. But I'm going to just step here. I have sent 2 books out in 2 months. I'm beat. I'm tired. I feel like I've been beaten up a little bit. My mind's currently in pure mental fugue state. Like, woo! I'm free. Because, it's all out there. It's down. It's out. My editor has the Cloud Diver. It's done. I mean, it's obviously not done yet. I still got to go through edits. I still got to go through some things. It was a good experience. I had a lot of fun writing it. The only thing I kind of wish I had was like more beta reader replies, but that's a lesson I'm going to talk about at some point down the road. But no, it's fun. It's a lot. It's exciting. I'm going to be showing people the model for the books when they come out at When Words Collide. So if you want to check out what the Cloud Diver is going to look like and the feeling of it, come say hi. It's going to be great. The Wandering God's coming out October 17th. I go to Mexico October 18th. I'm kind of beat, and I got lesson plans and a zillion other things on my plate right now, which is what I want. My next story idea is a short one, but a good one. And yeah, like I said, I'm on the go. But tonight, as soon as this is up, I'm just doing nothing constructive the rest of the night. I think I've earned a free night off. So anyway, guys. We'll go to the interview right now. Called A Familiar Story, Told in a Brand New Way, The Watcher is about a slave boy who kills his dragon masters and goes into a post-apocalyptic wasteland, discovering that there's more to life than being a slave. The Watcher is book 1 of the Watcher saga, which has book 2, Storm Dancer, and the concluding saga, The Wandering God, will be out later this year. It is available at mirrorworldbooks.com, Amazon.com.ca, Barnes & Noble, Chapters Indigo, and any other online bookstore you can think of.
So?
Yeah, I did by the way, just so you know, the recorders are on, so anything incriminating you want to say, it will be recorded live, so just letting you know that right up front. Yes.
I've had a little bit of wine, so you never know.
Okay. Excellent. I mean... But I certainly don't take myself too seriously doing this. I don't know if you listen to any of my other episodes, it goes anywhere and everywhere, and that's how I like it, because I look at it like this. For me, it's not so much. I mean, your books are important, and your books better be good if you want readers to come back. But for actually to acquire readers, especially in today's day and age, we are a lot more associated with we're a lot more connected in terms of social media. So there's a lot more communication, interaction. So I like talking to people like as they are, because that ultimately is your best form of marketing, in my opinion. Okay. So does that make sense?
Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Oh, hey, thanks for answering. I was like 2 random people. I'm like, I need 2 more interviews. Hey, that worked out really well, and that's just the way it goes. So let's see. So, what are you working on right now? Let's start there. You said you were performing. So, what or is that different?
That's different. I'm kind of a split personality in a way. I have 2 sides to me. I've my writer side, and then I've got my flamenco side. And actually, in the books, the flamenco comes in a little bit. But yeah, no, that was performing for the Works Festival here in Edmonton.
Oh, that's cool.
I was actually singing. I've been dancing flamenco for about, and I'm still at certainly not a hugely advanced level, but I love it. And I've been singing cante, what they call flamenco singing is called cante, and I've been doing that for about a year and a half and really love it. So that was our first opportunity at performing, but I'm not really here to talk about flamenco. I'm here to talk about writing.
So you want to focus on the writing a little bit, because I did have a flamenco question that came up. But
Okay.
I'll ask that, and then we'll go to writing. I promise. So, do you enjoy performing on the stage?
I love performing. I don't really get stage fright. Maybe I'm too naive. Maybe I should be getting stage fright, but I don't really get stage fright. I've always felt or at home on a stage ever since I was a kid. My mother used to tell me to quit showing off, but I guess that's just part of who I am. I'm very comfortable on stage, whether I'm acting or singing or dancing. So it's all good.
So you're like a full-blown Renaissance woman. Awesome.
Or I don't know.
Well,
I like my wine.
Going back.
Okay.
The reason I say that is okay. So this goes back when I was in high school. We were talking about my favorite period history is Renaissance, and we would class with different people based on their career types. Well, a lot of people during that era were doing multiple disciplines. Da Vinci was a scientist, but he's also an artist. And Galileo was a scientist, right? And then Michelangelo was a painter, but he also dabbled. And people that had multiple disciplines, they were not considered necessarily one or the other, but they were considered Renaissance men. So I just figured, since you're an actress, a dancer, a writer.
That's probably, I haven't done any acting for a long time. I have acted, though. I've done stand-up as well, as an amateur as well. I think you probably know Tim Reynolds and a few other people like Virginia O'Dine who still work away at it. For me, I did it for a few years and enjoyed it, but it was time to get back to writing. And so actually that's kind of when I got back into writing my novels is stand-up, and figured, nope, too nerve-wracking for me. I'm better suited to sitting and writing, but I don't regret my time doing that.
Oh, no.
Because I don't have any fear of being on the stage, and I suspect that's partly why.
Well, it's good. For me, I have no fear either. Well, I get butterflies still, but whenever I do a stage thing,
that's healthy.
I didn't get butterflies. I should not go on stage ever. I mean, I'm done. But I've had so many embarrassing things happen to me. I just don't fear the bottom anymore. It's happened, so it's like, whatever. Right. So that's me. I'm not saying I'm good at anything in particular. It's just that I'm not afraid to look bad anymore because it's happened. You just shrug it off and kind of move on. But
so you're a bit of a Renaissance man yourself.
By necessity. Because I just wanted to write and tell stories, and what ended up happening was I ended up doing poetry way back when I was younger. I ended up going back to poetry later. We'll get to that. But I ended up doing poetry, so I had to learn how to publish. This is back in 2004, 2005, in my early 20s, trying to figure this giant machine out. I ended up going to Arizona. I've been doing interviews I just started doing interviews for comic book creators. At heart, I love comics. That's my hobby. So even to this day. And I ended up working for one of my heroes while I was down there. So I learned, and then while I was there, I ended up taking magazine design, which I got to learn design. I got to learn a lot about how that kind of stuff works. Then I come back here after everything kind of falls apart. I learned how to do comic books. I learned how that actually works on both ends. I learned how to. I find with writing, it just for me, it's been an education in everything else I've done. And everything else I've done has actually served my writing, because you realize that no matter what art form you're in, no matter what art form you're in, what art form you do, it's storytelling. Like, no matter what. And each medium or discipline you play in, when you go back and you write, it's part of you. And you can actually take something from one thing and add it to the other.
I love that comment. I made that comment recently that I think I was talking to Rhonda Parrish. Rhonda has just finished putting out Equus, which is a brand new anthology based on horses, which she will be selling at When Words Collide in Calgary. I have a story in that, but one of the things I said to her when I was talking about Equus is I think writers write who they are. And so I have a pretty dark side to me. My trilogy has dark aspects to it. It also has romantic aspects to it. So there's that aspect to me. But the story that I provided for Equus was silly and fun, and it takes place in Edwardian England. It's a comedy of manners, and it's the marriage market, and it's all that silliness, which I just adore. So I think writers write who they are, and that's the point I'm trying to make. So if you look at your own writing, I don't know, would you agree with that statement?
Yes, I do. Okay, so what I'm currently doing right now is an epic poetry series. I went back into poetry. I did a story called The Watcher, which is about a slave boy who kills his dragon masters and goes into a post-apocalyptic wasteland, discovering there's more like being a slave. So I wrote about freedom. The book 2 was about family. Book 3 was about faith. And then I had this like really absurd...
Oh, cool!
Yeah.
Oh, because of 2. Yeah, that is really neat.
Yeah, so
we
it's
could
like
get into that. That's those themes cool.
Yeah, and then there's what I'm doing right now, which is when I'm done talking to you tonight. I'm editing a book called The Cloud Diver, which is about it's my first actual like novel I'm going to put out there, and it's about it's The Matrix meets Indiana Jones. But I'm throwing in as much absurd stuff as I can, like unicorns with part rainbows, zombie mobsters, dragons, you name it. Because I love big imaginative like stuff. Like I like, again, it's partly because again I grew up reading comic books, so I love this larger than life superheroic stuff. But I also just love just that big imaginative, like why not do it? Another story I'm working on, and I'm trying to submit for one of Rhonda's for the fire anthology is actually
right. Yeah, that one comes up.
Yeah, that one, I'm writing a story about a race inside a sun.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of like that's the kind of stuff I like doing. I love big concepts, but I like talking about stuff that matters. Like, who are you? What do you want? One of the reasons I do the podcast too is I get to talk to other writers, editors, or in your case, a Renaissance woman, and
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. But I get to.
I love your comment about writing about what matters.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. You don't want to be preachy.
No.
That's a huge no-no. But on the other hand, I think it's important to have a theme in mind. And if there's something that you want to say, you say it in a subtle way that gets the message across and engages the reader at the same time. So I always try to do that with my work. Certainly the trilogy is that way. All of the short stories I've ever written have tended to be that way. And I know that there's been an argument out there. Some writers will say, well, what's the point? Do you really need to write with theme in mind, I would say, yeah, probably. Even if you're writing something that's really funny and entertaining, I think it's important to have something more there, a little more meat there.
Well, I look at, so one of my favorite authors is Terry Pratchett.
What about you? What do you think?
No, I'm with you. One of my favorite authors is Terry Pratchett. I love Terry Pratchett. And he did this book, I think it was Eric, where they had this prophesied hero go in and try to fight the dragon. And it was hilarious. It was funny. But then the dragon won. And he was talking about the fact, and this was like a really adult thing inside this very funny book, that people will accept terrible things out of fear. And it was, again, comedy, and brought that to attention in a way that I never would have considered any other way. And he's not the only one that does it. Christopher Moore is really good at that. Dr. Seuss is really good at that, right? There are authors out there that can use comedy and put real things in there. I'm kind of trying to do that. Cloud Diver is not a serious book, but it does have some serious themes inside it. But let's talk about your stuff real quick here.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, let's talk about your stuff real quick. So I'll ask you. What do you prefer, shorts or bigger stories?
Oh, I think well, I like them both. I love the shorts because I can get one out in maybe a week or two. Novels take at least a year for me, and this trilogy took 10 years of my life, a decade. So, like you said in your last podcast, you were sad to see your series end.
Yes.
You miss those characters. In a way, I'm not.
Yeah.
10 years is a long time to commit to something, and I'm happy to move on. I might eventually write a book about these characters again, but there's no huge plans to do that in the future. I'm more excited about something new and entirely different that I'm going to be doing.
Absolutely. Well, like for me, it's done. Like I do have a way to go back into that world, but it will not be with those characters ever again. Like it's done. And so I think that's that for me that's the bittersweet thing, and I want to do something different. And don't get me wrong, that's the other thing. Is like I'm ready to try something different, and I guess is the word. And it's just kind of where I'm at right now in my writing career. Now I'm trying to get into the novel thing and see if I can actually see if I'm actually good, because I really do fear I might suck at this, but we'll find out as time goes on.
You probably won't.
Yeah.
And it's a worthwhile effort. It's to write something longer. It's certainly worthwhile thing to do, just to see if you can do it, first of all.
Yeah.
With me, I really love historical fantasy. And I love the research that goes into it. There's a fair amount of research that goes into before I even start writing. Like that's kind of the stage I'm just past that stage. I'm 14,000 words into the new book.
Nice.
Set it aside a few months ago to focus on flamenco, but I'm about to pick it up again. And so it's kind of nice to be able to do that, whereas before I was under the pressure to get the things written and edited, and so it was nose to the grindstone time. So this year is kind of more playtime for me, and I'm kind of enjoying myself. It's nice.
And that's always
nice to do.
That's a good spot to be in. Let's see here. So I'm curious. Like for me, I always wanted to be a writer, and I got everything educated to me as time went on in the writing. Was it that way with you, or did you start with something else in mind?
I wanted. Oh, jeez. I am a late bloomer. I came to writing just as I hit 30, and then I got pregnant with my first child, and so that really kind of put a wrench into my writing for a time. So I wasn't one of these wonderkins like, who know, like you, from the get-go that that's what you wanted to do. An actress. But as an actress, I don't think I had the emotional security to be one and to travel to where you have to, look for gigs and stuff like that. But being a creative person, I kind of evolved from acting to directing when I was in university. And then I had a professor tell me that I should write. And I had been kind of, to tell you the truth, avoiding English classes because they were really heavy.
Oh, they could be, yeah.
Heavy. I didn't want to do that. So I didn't start writing till I was about 28, 29, or, just heading into that. And then it was short stories. I was lucky enough to get involved with the folks who were just starting up on Spec magazine. Mm-hmm. And who I met in university invited me to come and join their writers group, and their writers group also evolved into working with On Spec. They, after 2 years, I think, with the writers group, they invited me as a guest editor to edit the youth issue. They used to do a theme issue every year, so I started with editing that, and then nobody really told me to leave. They just kept throwing manuscripts at me, so I thought, okay, this is a good gig. I'll just keep working. So thank you to On Spec, because working as an editor really honed my writing skills fairly quickly. And I think, cool.
So you went roundabout way.
I began.
You went the roundabout way into this. Okay.
I did. Yeah.
So in my case, I was lucky. I stumbled into it. Honestly, I was really fortunate. I had good teachers growing up, and for me, I'm from Ontario, not from Alberta. So I was educated there, and I was in London, Ontario, and there was this contest called the Lawson Literary Contest. It no longer exists, unfortunately, because I don't think it does. If it does exist, it's near the end of its run. It was only for a set amount of years because it was a trust from an officer from, I think, World War II, but I'm not. So the idea was you wanted to write something historical about Canada. Now, most people did nonfiction. I did a fiction story. It did well. Like, I didn't win, but it did really well, and I kept going with it. And I just, you just one of those things where it was something I was already doing. Like I was already writing and doing it, like other stuff anyway, but just one of those things, like, I did it, and it just clicked. And when it clicked, it was like, this is what I want to do, and I've been chasing my dreams across everywhere ever since I've been doing it. So I've had no fear.
I have a theory about that. And it's sort of a weird, airy,
sure,
fair sort of thing. But I think that if you have a talent or an ability in a certain thing, doors will start to open for you. It's like things aren't. Now, don't get me wrong, writing can be very, very difficult and very hard to break into and very hard to get published, but on the other hand, it also seems that where the doors were not open for me to be an actress, the doors were always open for me to be a writer.
Yeah.
And it just seemed to come easy that way. So I don't know if that's a coincidence or it's just something meant to be. I have no idea.
Well, I truly see my thinking on that is I was the opposite. I figured out what I wanted to do. I still have no idea where I'm going, but I know where I want, where I wanted to do at a very young age. And I think that was the trade-off in my case. And who knows where I'll end up when it's all said and done. But the thing is, a lot of people don't know what they want until later. Believe it or not, at 30, that's still young to figure out what you want.
You think so? I've known people who knew what they wanted to be, when they were in elementary school and junior high, and that's what they became. I always sort of felt like, I don't have no idea.
Well, lots of people don't know. I've seen
a whole bunch of different things.
Yeah, well, no, a lot of people don't know. I know, like for most people in my friends group, they're 30, they're older than I am, and they still don't know what they really want to do. They're incredibly talented people, but they don't have a set, what lights you up, what's your passion, that doesn't necessarily hit. And also, even with people that know what they want to do in elementary school and high school and stuff like that, sometimes I listen to that, and again, I'm not downgrading any job, whether it's an accountant, whatever, but I find people that usually, I remember when I was going to high school, and a lot of them, people were trying to become social workers, and I was thinking about that. I mean, I'm not denigrating the job, but when you have that many people going for the same thing, I always had the tendency to believe that maybe a lot of people were like, well, this is the safe play, right? And then what happens is you get older, you get to your 30s, your 40s, or even your 50s, and you're like, what the fuck was I doing with my life? And then suddenly it hits you, I should have done this, and this, and this. In my case, I again, it wasn't just that I wanted to do it. I really wanted to do it. It wasn't like no one was going. A lot of people, and even a lot of people to this day, they tell me, "Well, it's risky." I'm like, "Well, yeah, but I only live once," and
that's exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand people who don't try stuff. I
Yeah.
really don't. Like, what's stopping you other than fear of failure? And if you fail, that's a great place to just pick yourself up and keep going. I mean,
and if
you live a full life.
Well, yeah. There's also the fact as you talk about doors. I have found that in failures, doors open anyway. This is actually what I found.
Yeah.
My first book of poetry, I didn't know what I was doing, and I definitely learned a lot of lessons here. I did that when I came to Calgary the first time. I go to Arizona with this book, and that's where I learned how to sell my stuff. But also, that's where one of my heroes, and I actually got a job working for him because of that book. I failed here, and it opened another door there. And then even when that didn't work out, it's opened other doors here when I've been back. And no matter what, like I think honestly, failure is just simply one door closing more often than not, and then others opening, because you just keep going. Life goes on, and unless you're dead. Till you're dead, and then when you're dead, it don't matter anymore. So, but that's...
it may be that you just have to have that attitude to eventually succeed. If you just give up and never do it again, then that's failure.
Yeah, that's the only real way to fail. I mean, you're not going to succeed. Right. You're not going to succeed every time you go out the door. You're not going to bat 1,000. Heck, you might not even bat 100, but you don't need to. You just got to get one swing of the bat. That's it. So that's kind of how that's how I approach what I've done. And again, I've been through a lot. Nothing really scares me anymore. I've been to the bottom. That it's nice, I guess. And then you just come up and you just go, okay, I'm here. I'm still here. Now what?
Yeah. The thing about hitting bottom is if you can pick yourself up from, and I think every writer feels at some point that they've hit bottom. I've certainly been there. You find a certain amount of strength in yourself that you never thought you had. And it makes you... if you recognize that, you respect yourself maybe even more than you had before, and it doesn't really matter so much what people think.
Yeah.
You just you have your own belief in yourself. You've seen how low you can be. You can pick yourself up and go on from that, and you do. And I don't know quite what I'm trying to say. Just that if we try and we fail and we pick ourselves up again and we keep trying and then we have some success, even a little bit.
Oh yeah.
It makes you stronger.
When you hit bottom, it always makes you stronger. But you know who you are, because when you're at the bottom, it's just you. There's no distractions at that point. It's just you and only you, and you got to deal with whatever it is you have inside you that's been holding you back, or you just stay there, and like you said, life will keep beating on you. I mean, that's the one thing about life, it's relentless. But I got a smile from you on that one. But yeah, life is relentless, but the thing is, you can get up, but the thing is, you got to look in the mirror and you got to kind of see, okay, this is who I am, and this is. And a lot of people don't go through... I think, I can tell, with people, if they've been through that or if they haven't. And if they've been... You can kind of tell with certain people. And once you meet them, it's like, okay, you've been there, I can't do squat to you. Because you've been there. Some people, you're like, oh, you still get scared at that, huh? That's cute. And that's kind of like... That's how I see it, right? Because I've been in situations where I've had to hitchhike 20 miles just to go to work every day. I didn't always have regular meals coming. I was going through those points in my life, and even though, like I said, it might sound like I embellish it. That was a very important development point for me, because the other question that when you hit those points in your life are, how bad do you want something? Because that's the other that's the other big.
That's true. How bad do you want it?
Yeah.
How much are you willing to sell out, or are you willing to sell out, or do you stick to your guns and carry on doing what you believe you're going to do?
Yeah.
I think that would be sort of more my case.
Yeah.
But I was also going to say, when you fail and you pick yourself up from it, I'm a pretty critical person. I think being a good editor, you have to be. But on the other hand, I think as I've gotten older and maybe a little bit wiser, I would like to think I've become a little bit more compassionate too. And I think that, where I used to be really, really hard on new writers, I would like to think I'm a little bit more understanding and careful with them now. I'm still going to have my critical, as an editor, I'm speaking as an editor now.
Yeah.
I'm still going to have my critical abilities that I will use, but I'm hoping I would be a little kinder, a little easier on people. And one thing I really love doing as an editor is I really do love teaching up-and-coming writers, how they might clean up a little bit more. So I have that hat too. I'm a writer. I'm also an editor, and I enjoy that as well.
I actually find that some.
So where do we go?
Yeah, no, it works. I find with the obviously I'm going to get rejection letters in this industry until the day I'm done. But it's part of life. I've noticed they've gotten nicer, which is
that's good.
Yeah.
That means that means you're getting closer, right?
Well, that means I'm getting read. I had an agent who. She still likes, again, she loves my ideas because they're just big and over the top and bombastic, and so I'm always open to do it. But first thing I sent to her, she was like, no, but it was actually really encouraging. No doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing. No can be like, nope, it's just not quite what I'm looking for. No can be like, thanks. Like, it can be very 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 impersonal, but it also can be very encouraging too, because it's like, yeah, this one's not there, but keep coming because we see something in you. You just need to work on this a little bit more, and that's like for anyone that tries to get into anthologies, magazines, anything like that. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you're going to get a lot of no's, and it could also be other things too. Sometimes you get a no not because your story's bad or anything, but because it doesn't fit that particular issue, that particular anthology, that particular right. It's not the right fit for whatever it's going for. The only thing I sometimes wish an editor had time to do is that explain that difference, because sometimes you're always still kind of wondering a little bit if is it good or is it just because it doesn't fit, right? Because that's a different message. You know what I mean, right? It's no because it doesn't work for what we're going for. Okay, I get that. Or no, it's just not quite good enough. Okay, I got to work on this. Like that, there's a different. But I also get too that from an editorial side, you get hundreds of submissions, and some of them are amazing and wonderful, and then some of them are soul crushingly bad, and most of them are somewhere in the middle, and you read a lot, so you don't always have the time to be that specific. But there was one thing I did wish existed. That would be the only thing I kind of wish, because sometimes you don't know. It's like, you read this, I can tell, I see the fingerprints here, but it's like, yeah, but you know what I mean? That's pretty much it. It's the only thing.
Yeah. I can't speak for all editors, but I know that if you with me when I've edited things, if people approach me and not be pissed off because they've been rejected, but they really want to know why I turn them down or where they might improve the work, I'm quite happy and help them there. That said, I've never been inundated with that, so that's something to think about too. But
that might be a floodgate.
Different editors have different things that they like and that they don't like. You know? I mean,
absolutely.
When I was on. We have what Diane probably talked about, fight nights. They still do those, where all the editors get together and they talk about, the stories that they like, and sometimes there'd be quite a division. There would be stories where, say, Diane in it that maybe I didn't like, but because she felt so strongly about it, okay, great. Or vice versa. I would see something that I really liked. Other people would say, what, you're crazy. And I'd say, no, I'm not crazy. Look at this and this and this and this. This is a brilliant piece, So, again, it's also the taste that the editor brings to it as well.
Which is obviously everybody's got their own thing. So, yeah. So you're obviously you said it earlier, historical fantasy is a big thing you're into. But what else?
I love it.
So who do you?
I love history.
What's your favorite period of history?
Oh, I have all kinds. Like the book I'm working on right now is Edwardian. I love the Edwardians. They were just like over the top party animals. King Edward VII was quite the playboy, and the noble families in England kind of followed his suit. Right?
Why not?
Mistresses, and is a gambler and a drinker and loved Paris, and um, and so I kind of like the Edwardian period better than the Victorians because they're a little bit more modern and they're a little bit more, they live a little bit bigger than I think. My books are based in Spain in about 1550.
Okay.
So that period of Spanish expansion into the New World, where Spain was kind of the America of today without the craziness of you-know-who. They had a different kind of craziness. It was called the Inquisition.
Yeah, it was called the Inquisition, and it was called and the Gold Rush. They were big into gold, and they were willing to do all kinds of things to get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So they were.
I've been to some of the cathedrals there where there's the gold is just everywhere. It's all New World gold. It's just gilt everywhere.
Yeah.
So it was the New World was big business, and that coupled with a really repressive church.
Yeah.
I just thought, well, hey, a fantasy about a half gypsy who practices her mother's tattoo magic to resurrect a dead priest, and then she and her father get caught at it, or she gets caught at it, and they have to run away. And so that's kind of what book 1 is, and book 2 is again a race across Spain and look that were happening in that era. The mixes of Muslim and Jewish and Gypsy cultures melding into kind of a flamenco culture, which is the other side of me that I absolutely love. And then book 3, which is racing from the old world in Spain to the new world of the Caribbean and running into African cultures and voodoo, the beginnings of voodoo. I mean, I go into voodoo in book 3. And how the magics are similar. And it was really cool when I was doing the research how close some of the African religions are to the actual religion that I'd kind of created with the gypsies, and kind of pagan approaches to things. So I had a lot of fun looking into that. And instead of zombies that eat your brain, I wanted to actually have a real their brains are basically burnt out of with pufferfish poison and toad poison and that sort of thing. So yeah, it was cool.
Cool.
And also lots of research about sailing in 1550, 1600. The ships and the crews and how long did it take to make the Atlantic crossing and the kind of things that new colonists would have to put up with, the lice-ridden rat conditions, the diseases, the superstition of male crew with women on board, and accusations of witchcraft and piracy, and it's just great. I just love that. I had a lot of fun writing it.
I can tell. I could see you doing something else in that era, not necessarily that world, but that era, because there's a lot of things you can play with on just that alone. So, is there? Okay, so I'm gonna ask this. Then, is there a particular reason why Spain, or did it just come up?
No. My sister, if she's listening to this, will disagree with me, but we have a family myth about our history on my mom's side, and that is that my mother's original name was Franco. Guess what? Guess who was Franco?
Yes.
Yeah, Spanish Civil War. But we were supposedly kicked out of Spain.
Okay.
When our family went east and ended up in Austria-Hungary, but the story was we were Spanish nobility kicked out of Spain because we didn't get along with the king. Well, when I started looking into the history, the people that were kicked out of Spain were Jews, they were gypsies, and they were Muslims. And they were either kicked out or forced to convert. So Jews in particular became conversos. That's the term for a converted Jew to become a Catholic, converso. Muslims were moriscos. They're again forced to convert by the Catholic Church. But the Catholic Church with the Inquisition didn't trust anybody and didn't trust the conversion. And it was big business to be able to accuse somebody of a false conversion and then take all their there was no proving your innocence. If you did, you had to prove it from jail, or deal with torture, deal with an auto da fe where people were burnt at the stake and that kind of thing. So anyway, luckily that never happened to us. We left town.
Yes, you got your family got the hell out of Dodge. They saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah, we certainly did. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's interesting though, with my mom's maiden name being Franco. My cousin Jim Franco was with the Air Force, Canadian Air Force, for years, and when Franco was in power up until 1975, Jim, who I think was a major, he could not fly in Spanish airspace simply because he had the last name Franco.
That's interesting.
Yeah, isn't it though?
Yeah. A strange world we live in, definitely. The Spanish there almost sound like lawsuits today, actually. It's interesting. It's not quite the same thing, but the idea of suing and going after people for things is a very common thing today. And it's almost like it's an evolution of the old witch trial thing. It's like, yeah, you're a witch. No, I'm suing you for this moral outrage of something. Yeah.
Yeah, like with my books, I go more into the witchcraft thing, but in the actual history, it was more heresy that they were after, religious heresy.
What?
So, but they had witch trials in Spain.
Oh, yeah.
To the extent of what it was for religious heresy, so, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I wrapped the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. That's your personal. So everybody, as you point out, going back to the beginning, has their own personal stake in what they write. So I was just kind of curious, like, why that particular. Again, Spain's a really cool place, but I mean, that whole era was just a very cool time all the way through. Whether it was in Italy, whether you were in England, it was just a big expansion everywhere.
Yeah.
So it was just it affected the world we have in today. So, you're on your current novel, and you have a story in Equus. Do you have anything else out right now that's coming out?
I'm waiting to hear on a short story in an anthology. Fingers crossed on that one. Don't want to say which one it is. Fingers crossed, and hopefully I'll get an offer for that one. And other than that, no, not right now. Got to get back, seriously get back to the novel and work on that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I've also got something coming up. Can't really talk about it, but it's a nice big project, and I'm excited about it. Other than,
well,
I won't say anything more.
I was going to ask one thing. I'm going to ask one thing more about it, but you don't have to actually give away too much. Writing or editing, or both?
Can't say.
Okay.
If I say, I'll give it away.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So, on that note, I think we have a pretty good interview here. So for people out there, how can they find you? Like, how can they your book? Tell them about your books. About where people can actually contact you.
How people can contact me?
Yeah, social media, like your Facebook, Twitter.
Yeah, Facebook. I've also got a blog, which I've been a little bit more sporadic with lately. I'll probably point on my blog. I'll probably point to this podcast that we did. That's at pseudonyms.blogspot.ca. Yeah, Facebook. What else? I don't know.
Twitter, Instagram.
No, I don't do Instagram. No, that's mostly pictures and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. So. I don't know. I'll tell you my theory about Instagram when we'll wrap this up. So my theory about Instagram is when I look at Instagram and I saw it, again, this is me being a comic guy. I saw a Saturday morning panel picture thing, and I'm thinking, it would be really cool you could do with this. And at some point, this is going to happen. My Instagram is going to turn into a 1 day a week, one panel comic about something. And that, because you have a description you take a picture and you have a description of stuff underneath. Because right now what I use my Instagram for is I take pictures of things I think are amusing or fun, and I put them out there. Or when I'm doing conventions, I'll show off costumes, people in costumes, and just generally just tomfoolery. But I'm like, if I were to use it but as a storytelling device, it reminds me of this one comic I used to read back on the Saturday morning comics. One picture, the captions are underneath, and I'm like, that could work. Anyway, yeah. I look at all mediums as ways to tell stories, and just naturally it's what I do. So, but that's again up the way if you ever get to do the Instagram Twitter thing. So for Facebook though, Susan MacGregor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Susan MacGregor. Yeah, for sure. And the blog is just if you just type in under Google Susan Imms, you'll probably find me there too.
All right. In that case. And that was my conversation with Susan MacGregor. Isn't she awesome? She's awesome. Check her out when Words Collide this week. She'll be there with her books. You should definitely check them out. Check out her blog. Check out her website. As stated at the very end of the interview. Do that now. And that will do it for this episode of Just Joshing. So if you want to support the podcast, you can do this a number of different ways. You can subscribe on Podomatic or on iTunes. I would love that. Listen to a couple episodes. Tell me what you think. That'd be cool. You can buy my books, which currently right now are The Watcher and Stormdancer, which you can get right now through mirrorrollbooks.com or amazon.com or wherever else you can get books electronically. You can do so that way. You can support my YouTube channel at Joshua Penteloresco. That's where a lot of my episodes are archived. More of them are happening all the time. I uploaded 2 last week. I'm going to probably upload at least another half dozen this week. So that's that. Or you can sign up for my newsletter at tinyletter.com/jpenteloresco. Or if nothing else, keep listening. Thank you very much for that. And whatever you do, you stay inspired doing your own thing and achieving your own result. All right? Anyway, you take care, stay out of trouble, don't get caught, have an alibi, or an accomplice take the blame. I don't judge. Okay? Okay. See you next time.
Josh.